Hello students, good morning. So I hope you all are safe at home. Here we are again with the physics class. So last class we are discussing the topic diffraction at a single slit. We just started and today we are moving to the balance of it. So first of all I will once again explain the experimental setup for the diffraction at a single slit. Okay. So this is the experimental setup for diffraction at a single slit. You can see here, this is the source S. It is a monochromatic source of light, and since it is a point source, it will be giving spherical wavefronts. We can name it as XY. Okay, XY will be the spherical wavefront. Now, there is a lens placed here, which we call it as the collimating lens. What is the purpose of this lens? I told that as this lens will make the rays parallel. Now the parallel rays will move like this. So since the rays are parallel, the wavefront for these parallel rays will be plane. You know that. I can name it as X dash, Y dash. Okay. Now here a slit is placed and this slit has a width A, small a. AB is the slit. And the order or the size of the slit is comparable to wavelength, so that at this point A and B diffraction occurs. You know what is diffraction, and here we are discussing the Fraunhofer diffraction. Okay, Fraunhofer diffraction, in which the screen and the source is at a larger distance, and here these rays, the diffracted rays, will again focus on a point P on the screen with the help of what? A convex lens L2. Okay, here you can see a point O, and X is the distance from this point O to the point P. Okay, these all things we discussed in the last class. So this is the experimental setup. Now, after the experiment, there are certain observations. And what are the observations? The diffraction pattern formed on this screen consists of a central bright maximum at O. Okay, at this point O, a central bright maximum is obtained. So that is the first observation. The central bright maximum at the point O. Then followed by a number of alternate minima and maxima. That means since this is central maximum, next point will be dark. Intensity is less, that is it can be called as minima, and then again maxima. So in such a way we can see the patterns on the screen. And the minima next to central maximum, we call it as the secondary minima. Again secondary maxima, again secondary minima, like this it will go. That is the first secondary minima, second secondary minima, third secondary minima. Similarly, first secondary maxima, second secondary maxima, like that it will go on both sides of the central maxima. Okay. And about the intensity of maxima falls off rapidly as the distance from O increases on either side. That means in the case of interference in Young's double slit experiment, we told that the intensity is same and the fringes or the bands are of equal width. But here the intensity is decreasing as we move at a larger distance from the point O on both sides. It is seen that the intensity is decreasing. The width of the fringes are not same. The central maximum has the maximum width, and the width of the successive maxima and minima gradually decreases as the distance from O increases on either side. Understood? So these are the observations. So what was the first observation? First observation was that a central maximum or a bright maximum is formed at the point O. That is, a central maximum is formed at the point O. Okay. Now on either sides you can see a number of alternate minima and maxima. So a number of alternate minima and maxima on either side. That is the next observation. Then the intensity of the central maxima or the bright point is maximum, but as we increase the distance from O on either side, the intensity of maximum decreases. Intensity of maxima decreases. Next is the fringe width is not same. The fringe width is not same. Clear? So these are the observations. Now we have to give explanation for these observations. How you are getting the central maximum, then how you are getting the alternate minima and maxima, and we have to find the conditions for obtaining this maxima and minima as we found in the case of interference pattern, isn't it? In interference also we have derived so many conditions for constructive interference as well as destructive interference. Similarly here also for getting this alternate minima and maxima we have to find the conditions. That is very important. So let us move to that. Okay. So before moving to the conditions, as we discussed, the path difference, expression for path difference we have derived in the last class. That is, for finding the expression for path difference, what we have done here is we have done a normal or a perpendicular to this point. That is, from A we drawn a perpendicular, that is AN, in this line, isn't it? Then we want to find BN. We know that this angle is also theta. So sin theta, when we calculate sin theta, we got sin theta is equal to BN by A. That is, BN is equal to A sin theta. BN is equal to A sin theta. So this is the path difference. Now these rays are diffracted from the direction of incident beam, making an angle theta. This angle is known as the angle of diffraction. Okay. Now we can consider a plane wavefront coming towards the slit AB. As you know, each point on this slit is a source of secondary disturbance or secondary wavelets according to Huygens principle. So from these points, secondary wavelets will originate. These secondary wavelets interfere on the screen when they are brought to focus on a screen with the help of a convex lens at a position L2. And as a result, we are getting alternate bright and dark bands. We call it as maxima and minima in the case of diffraction. And it depends upon the path difference. Okay. So first we will discuss with the central maximum point. Central maximum which we obtained at the point O. So from this point secondary wavelets will originate, and these secondary wavelets will travel in the direction parallel to CO. That is, in the direction of the incident ray. If the rays are moving, we can say that the path difference between the secondary wavelets from the corresponding points, that is from the upper point as well as from the lower point, they are starting from the same position, isn't it? There is no path difference. Since there is no path difference, they will constructively interfere and form a bright maximum or a central maximum at the point O. Clear? That is, here the path difference between the secondary wavelets from this can be divided into two. Okay, this is the upper half and this is the lower half. So from this upper half as well as from the lower half, the path difference between the secondary wavelets is considered to be 0. So if the path difference is 0, you know that that is the condition for constructive interference, and as a result we will get bright point on the screen, isn't it? So as we discussed, the condition for central maximum is, this is our slit, okay, this is our slit A, B, okay, and a point is there C. So in the case of central maximum, the rays which are parallel to the point, that is here our screen is there, okay, so the points are moving like this and they will focus on the screen, isn't it? Okay, so here it is assumed that there is no path difference, that is this slit can be considered as two halves. This is the upper half and this is the lower half. From these 2 points, if there is no path difference, they will interfere constructively so that we are getting a bright point. We call it as the central maximum. Understand? So that is the condition for central maximum. Now we are moving to the first secondary minimum. First secondary minimum. Okay, listen carefully. First secondary minimum. That means when the rays are diffracted at an angle, we are getting the diffraction pattern like alternate minima and maxima on the screen. Clear? Now here, if you are considering a point P1 on the screen, that means in our figure, you can see that this is our figure. Okay, when the rays get diffracted at an angle theta, you are getting alternate maxima and minima on the screen. And here, if you are assuming that there is a point called P1 on the screen, the point is P1 on the screen, we are taking the, or we are giving justification for the conditions of secondary minima. Okay, listen carefully. Then suppose it is diffracted at an angle theta 1. So from this point A as well as from the point B, it is diffracted at an angle theta 1, and we are getting a point, we are considering a point P1 on the screen. You can consider it either above the point O or below the point O, no problem. Okay, and theta is theta 1, we call it as the angle of diffraction. Clear? Now we derived an expression for what? Path difference, that is Bn equal to A sin theta. Okay, I will redraw this picture. So this is our diagram. Okay, just that part only I have redrawn here. Just listen. This is our slit AB. C is the midpoint here. Then the ray, diffracted ray, making an angle theta 1, because we are assuming a point P1 on the screen for deriving the condition of first secondary minimum. Here we have to make certain assumptions. We have to consider certain things. This is just a justification given for the first secondary minimum. Okay. Now here we have the expression for path difference, that is delta equal to Bn, A sin theta. Delta equal to A sin theta, isn't it? That is, here theta is equal to what? Theta 1. So I can write delta equal to A sin theta 1. Or since the angle is small, I can write it as A theta 1. No problem. Then here it is assumed that here let delta be the path difference. Delta be the path difference between the wavelets arriving from A and B. Okay, the wavelets are arriving from A as well as from B. Okay, and lambda be the path difference between A and B. And these wavelets are interfering at a point P1 on the screen, isn't it? So delta is the path difference. And here this delta is equal to lambda. Clear? Once again, we derived an expression for delta or the path difference as a sine theta. This is the general expression. That is Bn is equal to a sine theta. We call it as the path difference. Okay. Now here we are assuming the condition for first secondary minimum, in which theta we changed it as theta 1. So delta is a sine theta 1, or it can be changed to a theta 1. Now here it is said that the wavelets which are originating from A and B will arrive at the point P1 on the screen, isn't it? They will interfere either destructively or constructively. They will interfere and they will arrive at a point P1 on the screen. At that time, let the path difference between the wavelets is taken as lambda. Okay. Now, as I told, there is an upper half as well as lower half. So, corresponding to every point on the upper half AC, we have some point in the lower half BC, isn't it? So, this lambda path difference will be divided into 2. That is, the path difference between the wavelets from the point A and C as well as from the point B and C will be lambda by 2 each. Lambda by 2, lambda by 2. Okay, thus 2 lambda by 2 will be equal to lambda. Understood? 2 lambda by 2 will be equal to lambda, which we consider as the path difference, general path difference. Okay, now what will happen? This lambda by 2 as well as this lambda by 2 will start to interfere. So if lambda by 2 path difference is coming, what will be the result? The result will be dark, isn't it? First minimum. We are getting the first minimum because we studied the conditions in the case of constructive and destructive interference, and we have studied that in the case of destructive interference the path difference should be lambda by 2, multiples of lambda by 2, and here we are getting lambda by 2 each. So lambda by 2 and lambda by 2, if they are interfering, means it will be destructive interference, so that we are getting the minimum, okay, which we call it as the first secondary minimum. Understood? Now if you are moving to the second secondary minimum, that is second secondary minimum, I can redraw the figure like this. That is, this is our slit. Okay, AB is our slit. Now here this slit AB, let us consider the angle as theta 2 is the angle of diffraction. Theta 2 is the angle of diffraction. Okay. Now this slit AB is actually divided into 4 parts. That is, we are assuming that here the path difference is actually 2 lambda. Path difference is 2 lambda. So the general expression will become a sine theta 2 or a theta 2 for path difference, and the path difference is assumed as 2 lambda. That means each part is there, 4 parts are there having lambda by 2 each. Isn't it? Lambda by 2, lambda by 2, lambda by 2 and 4th lambda by 2. So what will happen? For each upper half there will be a lower half. For each upper half there will be a lower half. Clear? So this lambda by 2 as well as this lambda by 2 will interfere, so there will be destructive again. Again these two will interfere, so it will also be a destructive interference. So again the general result, the result that we are getting in the screen will be again minimum. We call it as the second secondary minimum. Understand? Second secondary minimum. Okay. So how can you derive generally what will be the condition for secondary minima or nth minimum? You can say that the expression delta is actually a theta n, or A sine theta n, isn't it? This since theta is small, I wrote it as A sine theta, A theta n. And you can see that in the first case you got lambda, second case you got 2 lambda, okay. Then you will be getting 3 lambda, 4 lambda, like that. That means it is divided, actually it can be generalized like for the minima, the path difference delta must be an even multiple of lambda by 2. That means 2 lambda by 2, 4 lambda by 2, 6 lambda by 2, etc. That is why in the first case we are getting lambda, then we took it as 2 lambda, then we took it as 3 lambda, like that it is going. Okay, so the path difference must be an even multiple of lambda by 2, so that we are getting minimum. First secondary minimum, second secondary minimum, third secondary, like that you can find up to nth minimum. And this is the condition, even multiple of lambda by 2. Clear? So we were discussing the conditions for the secondary minimum. For the first secondary minimum, you assumed that there is a point P1 on the screen and it is diffracted at an angle theta 1. General expression we have for delta, that is A sine theta, and theta will be turning to theta 1. So delta equal to A sine theta 1 or A theta 1. And here we are assuming that the path difference between the wavelets arriving or originating from A and B and arriving at the point P1 will be lambda. So this upper half, there is an upper half as well as lower half. For interference means at least minimum 2 waves should be there, right? So here it is lambda by 2 and here it is lambda by 2. Lambda gets divided into 2 and these two will interfere, means since it is lambda by 2, it will be destructive interference which will result in minimum, that is dark. Okay, and the second case, secondary minimum, in the second secondary minimum you are assuming that it is 2 lambda. This is the explanation given for this alternate minima and maxima. So 2 lambda, so delta is equal to A theta n, okay, then again A theta 2, and we are assuming a point P2 on the screen which we call it as the second secondary minimum, and then we are dividing this into 4 equal halves having lambda by 2 each. So 4 into lambda by 2 will give you 2 lambda. So the general expression you can take it as the even multiple of lambda by 2, that is 2 lambda by 2, 4 lambda by 2, 6 lambda by 2, like that it will go up to nth minimum. Understood? Okay, now we will move to the secondary maxima. Secondary maxima, the explanation given for secondary maxima. Okay. So moving to the condition of secondary maxima, we are considering a point on the screen. Okay, somewhere here on the screen, can be above or below the point O. Let it be P1 dash. For minima we consider it as P1, P2, etc. Here we are considering it as P1 dash, P2 dash, etc. So if it is P1 dash, angle becomes theta 1 dash. That you can choose, no problem. Theta 1 dash. Clear? Now, here again the path difference, we have the general expression, that is A sine theta. That is delta is equal to, it will become A sine theta 1 dash. Isn't it? A sine theta 1 dash, or it can be A theta 1 dash. And here it is found that this path difference is equal to 3 lambda by 2. Path difference is equal to 3 lambda by 2. Okay. Now, the explanation given here is, this is our slit AB. This is the point C. So from here diffraction pattern occurs. This is taken as theta 1 dash. Okay. Now it is explained that this slit can be assumed to be divided into 3 equal parts. 3 equal parts. Okay. That is AC, C here you can give a name. Okay, this part and again this part. 3 equal parts. Now the explanation goes like this. The wavelets reaching the point P1 dash from the corresponding points of the parts AC, here you can give a name, that will be better. Okay, AC as well as from CD will reach P1 dash with a path difference lambda by 2. So this is 3 lambda by 2, right? So it will be lambda by 2, lambda by 2 and again lambda by 2. So from this point AC as well as from the point CD, the waves will move with a path difference of lambda by 2, lambda by 2 each. So what will happen is they will destructively interfere. Destructive interference will happen. So there will be only dark is there. But remaining lambda by 2 is there. Remaining lambda by 2 is there. Isn't it? So this remaining lambda by 2 is actually responsible for that secondary maxima. Okay, that is why you are getting intensity less than the central maxima. Understand? Intensity will be less. As I told, the intensity will be less as we are moving away from the point O. So this intensity is reduced because we have only this lambda by 2 part. Isn't it? So we are getting a secondary maxima on the screen. Once again, the wavelets reaching the point P1 dash from the corresponding points of the parts AC as well as CD will be reaching with a path difference of lambda by 2. So they will interfere destructively, but the wavelets from the part DB move with a path difference of lambda by 2 and will produce the secondary maximum. Okay, it has no other pair to interfere, so that part will move as it is, and so we are getting what? A maximum on the screen. So for this first secondary maximum, you can say this path difference delta is equal to A theta 1 dash is equal to 3 lambda by 2. That is what we brought here. Clear? Now how can you explain the second secondary maximum? For the second secondary maximum, how can you explain? I think now you got an idea. Yes, we can say that the path difference is, what will be the path difference? It is found that the path difference is 5 lambda by 2. So how will you give the explanation? If this is the slit, this slit can be divided into 5 equal parts, each having lambda by 2 path difference. Each having lambda by 2 path difference. So this is the angle of diffraction, theta 2 dash. Now this lambda by 2, each lambda by 2 pairs, okay, forming pairs will destructively interfere, because lambda by 2 and lambda by 2 will destructively interfere. Again another lambda by 2 and lambda by 2 will destructively interfere. So 4 such lambda by 2 will go. Remaining 1 lambda by 2 will be there, which will result in again the secondary maximum, second secondary maximum. So here what is the condition? Path difference is equal to A into theta 2 dash, which is equal to 5 lambda by 2. In this way, next is 7 lambda by 2, next is 9 lambda by 2. So here the pairs will go off because of the destructive interference, and remaining one part will be there, which will result or which will produce the secondary maximum. So here also the general condition, you can say that this is an odd multiple. Okay, path difference is an odd multiple of lambda by 2. Odd multiple of lambda by 2. Okay, so how can you write the general expression? General expression you can write like, for minimum, for secondary minimum, the path difference can be written as even multiple, that is 2n. Okay, even multiple of lambda by 2. Clear? And for secondary maximum, this path difference is an odd multiple of 2n plus 1 into lambda by 2. Understood? So this is the condition for secondary minimum and secondary maximum, and if there is no path difference, if the path difference is 0, you can say that it is what? Yes, it is the central maximum, which we are getting the maximum intensity there. Clear? So this is the explanation given for the diffraction at a single slit. Hope you understood. It is very important because you can check the previous board question papers in which this question is there. Okay, either in the form of numericals or in the form of theory. The questions will be asked from diffraction as well as from interference. So both concepts are very important and you have to study it clearly. Okay, so now we'll move to the next section. So this is the diffraction pattern, which is graphically shown here, and here you can see the point C corresponds to the position of central maximum in which maximum intensity is there. Point C is the central maximum. In our figure it may be O. Okay, O is the central maximum point, and here you can see the positions lambda, 2 lambda, 3 lambda, again here minus lambda, minus 2 lambda, minus 3 lambda, like that it goes. And these are the secondary minima. Okay, secondary minima. The above conditions, we have studied certain conditions, right? Just now we derived the conditions for diffraction, maxima and minima. They are exactly reverse of the mathematical conditions for the interference, maxima and minima. So don't get confused with that. Study it clearly. So different diffraction and interference, so many differences are there and their expressions are entirely different also. They are actually reverse. What we are studying in interference will not be in diffraction. So be careful while studying the topic. Okay, now we are moving to another important term in this lesson, that is width of central maximum. Width of central maximum. So width of central maximum means, in this figure you can see these are the first secondary minima points on both sides. Okay, these are the first secondary minima on 2 points. So this distance between these 2 points, that is the distance between first secondary minima on either side of the central bright fringe, is known as what? Width of central maximum. So how can you define this width of central maximum? It is the distance between first secondary minimum on either side of the central maximum. Okay, so this section is actually important when we consider the numerical. So many questions are asked from this section. So we have to derive a small expression for this width of central maximum. So let us look into that. So in this figure, suppose this is your first secondary minimum on one side. Okay, it is at a distance x from O, isn't it? Similarly, if you are considering a point below this O, there will be a secondary minimum, isn't it? So that is also at a distance x. Let us assume that. Clear? Now this distance, that is this x plus this x, is actually the width of central maximum, isn't it? That is 2x is the width of central maximum. Clear? Width of central maximum is 2x. Why? Because this is only one part which is above the point O, which we take it as a secondary minimum. Similarly, one point will be there below, which is also considered as a secondary minimum on other side, isn't it? So the width of central maximum means the distance between the secondary minimum on two sides. If this is x, this x should be calculated so that x plus x will give you the 2x value, which we call it as the width of central maximum. Clear? Now in this figure you can see this is also theta, right? Angle of diffraction. So what is this theta actually? Theta is, if you are taking sine theta, you can take it as x divided by d. What is d? Capital D is the distance between the slits and the screen, isn't it? So x is equal to what? Sorry, theta is equal to x by d, isn't it? So I can write sine theta is actually x by d, or theta is equal to x by d. Clear? Theta equal to x by d. And also for the first secondary minimum we derived one condition. What is the condition? For the first secondary minimum, what is the condition we derived? The condition is a sin theta is equal to lambda, isn't it? A sin theta equal to lambda. This is the condition we derived. And from this, what is sin theta? Sin theta equal to lambda by a. Here also I am taking it as theta, which is lambda by a. So theta equal to lambda by a. Again from here also theta equal to x by d. So these two can be equated so that x by d is equal to lambda by a, or x is equal to d lambda by a, isn't it? X equal to d lambda by a. Now we told that the width of central maximum is what? 2x. That is 2 into d lambda by a. 2 into d lambda by a. Clear? So this is the expression for what? Width of central maximum. Now from this equation you can see that this is inversely proportional to the slit width a. So if the slit width a increases, what is the value of the width of central maximum? Yes, it will decrease. Width of central, that's a very good question, one more question. So width of central maximum will decrease if the slit width increases. Clear? And also in the last session I explained one angular width. We call it as, in this section we call it as 2 theta. So 2 into lambda by a. That is the expression for angular width. Angular width is 2 theta, which we call it as 2 into lambda by a. Okay. That is the expression for angular width. So that's all for width of central maximum. So it can be defined as the distance between first secondary minimum on either side of the central maximum, and it is taken as 2x. So first we want to find an expression for x. For that we have the expression for path difference theta equal to lambda by a, and from the figure you can take sin theta, which is equal to x by d. So these two we will equate and we will find expression for x. Then width is 2x, it is 2 into d lambda by a. So this is the expression for width of central maximum. Then angular width is taken as 2 theta, which is 2 lambda by a. Half angular width, if the question asks like half angular width, you will take it as theta. And what is the value? It is lambda by a. Okay. So anyway questions can be asked, that we will discuss more in the section of numericals. Okay. So that's all about diffraction. Again I am saying it is very important, and this chapter is over because the next part, that is polarization of light, is not in your revised syllabus. It is deleted. So that's all about wave optics. Our two portions, that is interference as well as diffraction, is over. Okay. So until we meet in the next class, take care. Thank you. Have a nice day.